Yeah, I guess we're good to move on to the BO3 topic now. But one thing, you know, this was the first time I think we've seen best of threes in the like. I can't remember the last time there was an actual best of three in the LCS. Like
Long
since
time, season
since
6 or 7 or whatever.
since it used to be best of threes, because obviously when they moved to playoffs, everything's best of five. But it really kind of brought up the idea again of having best of threes as a permanent, like as the regular season format for the LCS. Because I think if you really just take a look at these previous matches and what you can kind of gain out of extra games, like you got to think about it going to the TSM Cloud9 series. If it's a best of one, I know obviously it's a quarterfinal match, so it's obviously not going to be best of one.
Mhm.
But again, if it was a best of one, we would have seen TSM win the series, and there'd be so many questions about Cloud9's roster. But being a best of three, Cloud9's able to fix up their issues, fix up their draft, and we saw Cloud9 actually play two really high level games. But I just wanted to get your thoughts, Blue Jay, of how you sort of look at best of threes versus best of ones.
So here's the thing. For me as a fan, do I want to see best of threes? No doubt. Absolutely I do. I even tweeted out about it. Watching that series, the C9 versus TSM series was so good. Um, are they going to make that change? No, I don't think they will, and I don't think they will in the near future. And I think there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't. Um, the first reason, let's look at the other BO3s that happened, right? 100 Thieves versus IMT, stomp. EG versus GG, stomp. TL versus FlyQuest, stomp, right? So just because one of the series was really, really good doesn't mean you should copy and paste that format into the rest of the league. So that's one thing I would say. The other is that it's really difficult to have. You can't do it all on one stream, right? The way they used to do best of three, I don't remember if it was season 6 or 7. The last time they did best of threes, they needed to do two separate streams. Now, if you do that, there's a really big issue that comes with viewership. Who's going to want to watch FlyQuest versus Golden Guardians if TSM and Cloud9 are playing on the other stream? You're going to have one stream with no viewership whatsoever. And if I'm FlyQuest or Golden Guardians or one of these teams that doesn't have that many fans, what did I pay to enter the league for if I don't even have any fans watching my games? You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
think that those lower tier teams need to feed off of the viewership of the more popular teams. And I think that's just another one of the reasons why we're not going to see BO3s, even though they are great to watch a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think for me, yes, I totally understand in terms of the LCS's side, in terms of money, viewership, how it affects, your sponsorships, for the entire season. And obviously it would be worse to run BO3s, as you would have to either split the broadcast into two separate streams, or you might have to completely change up how they do the broadcast. Maybe you'd go something similar to like the LPL and the LCK, where they play their matches across in terms of the LCK, they play across 4 days, Wednesday to Sunday, and they hold two best of threes each night. In terms of the LPL, I think they actually play the entirety of the week, since there's so much. They have, what did they have, 18 teams, 20 teams? They have 20 teams, right?
17.
Okay, they have
It's a weird
17
number, I
team.
know.
They have 17 teams, but since they have so many teams, they do have to run matches throughout the entire week, each day of the week. But so while I see that it might not be beneficial for the LCS, I think in terms of being a competitive region and being able to compete on an international stage or the World Championship stage, I think it is really important for North America to bring back best of threes. Maybe it would be in a reduced fashion, or maybe you wouldn't play a ton of best of threes over the entire season, but they might do it something like you only play each team twice in the whole year instead of 5 times, but you make them all best of threes. Because I think one dynamic that's really important in best of threes, and it's a value that really adds to it, is the draft element. Because I think we've
Mm-hmm.
seen a ton in the past that North America can get completely caught off guard by unconventional drafts, or even like cheese drafts, and that like the better team can lose to a worse team because they got cheesed in draft, or they just simply had a bad draft. And I think Exhibit A is this Cloud9 versus TSM series, where Cloud9 had a bad draft, and it was kind of like draft diff a little bit in terms of the way that TSM's comp like interacted with Cloud9's comp. And once they were able to fix up those problems and recognize, oh, these were our issues and this is how we fix them, they were able to do it seamlessly. And even look at some of the other games in terms of, when you have rookie players or maybe academy players, they can get so much extra value out of extra games in a series. You look at that first Immortals versus 100 Thieves game, and yeah, Immortals kind of got crushed in that first game, but in that second game, it was a little competitive, and we saw that Top Hoon was able to actually do some real work in the top side of the map against Someday, and that's something that I think a player like Top Hoon would need to, one, build his confidence in terms of, oh, okay, I can play against these players, and two, I'm gaining more experience. Same for the Golden Guardian side. The more number of games that this team can play, the better off they will be. Yes, it might be a downfall for some teams in terms of the fact that like maybe they do try to win their games through cheesing draft, or like, I don't know. I just feel that best of threes, they can give a more accurate representation of the standings, and it just also gives teams a lot more data and information to be able to work with to improve during the whole season.
So I completely agree as to your points that look, it's better for the league to improve. It's better for drafting. It's better for all of that stuff for the North American region to look better. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening because it's a business first, right? Like you need to make money, and I don't think that you could do the method of making games from Monday to Friday or whatever it was. I don't think you can do games during the week for the same reasons that we talked about earlier. When it comes to competing with other traditional sports, there's so many big and popular sports in North America, like the NHL, Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL. There's too much to compete with. Once the NFL finishes, you've got a clean slate of that weekend afternoon where there's not a lot of sports. I know hockey usually starts late at night, and so the LCS games are mostly over. I'd imagine basketball is mostly the same. I can't say that for sure, but I do know that most of the year, like the NFL would be what you would have to compete with in Saturday, Sunday, or rather Sunday afternoons. But the NFL is from September to basically January, February, and the LCS does not really happen during those times for the most part, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
think as far as LCS viewership goes, the best thing to do is to keep it on the weekends in the afternoon. That's where you have the least competition for viewership, and that's just again where it's a business first, and so I don't think see them shifting away from that. Not to mention, if you do go with the two streams, you've got to look into getting more broadcast talent again. And I don't think that the LCS has been that great in finding amazing broadcast talent. I think they've been okay, but if you need even more, I think that that's going to be a problem as well. And you and I have mentioned many times, we've been quite vocal about what the broadcast looks and feels like if you don't have that optimal broadcast talent. Like it definitely hurts the viewer experience, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I guess one thing that I hope for the future is that the LCS does, esports is still growing and will continue to grow, but I do hope that the LCS will reach a point in North America where it is comparable to the LCK and the LPL, where they're just as important as sports are in those regions. And,
Yeah.
whether that means there are more eyes on the LCS, so the viewership might not be as an issue, and they are able to do something like a dual stream setup, or it's just popular enough where you can justify running games across more days of the week than just 3.
Yeah, and that's where I'm more open to maybe in the long term things will change. In the short term, I definitely do not see that happening. I think it would be a really bad idea. I think the league would suffer, and I think teams would want to end up dropping out of the league because if you can't get any eyes on your product, you're not going to get any sponsorship dollars, and if you're not making any money, peace, I'm out. You know, so that's the main issue. And like you said, maybe in the long term, and I hope so in the long term, but for now, I think we'll have to be happy with best of ones. I think it's the best way to go. And the product is still good, in my opinion. BO1s are still good. So, yeah.